I was playing disc golf the other day with friends, and we were practicing social distancing, not touching one another's discs, and no high fives for good shots. Not that there were that many great shots to give high fives about. I was up on the tee, and I was lining up my shot. I could see the basket straight down the fairway, and I threw a beautiful line drive until it hit a rock and caromed off the fairway into a bush. When I approached my disc to look at my lie for the next shot, I had my feet in a bush, and there were at least 20 trees between me and the target. It was a place I'd never been and an upshot that I'd never faced before. And I stood there dejected, unsure what to throw, and fairly certain that I wasn't going to be able to save my par. Have you ever played disc golf or golf and taken a shot off the tee that didn't end up where you hoped it would? See, when your shot goes into the trees or a bunker or a bush, you're left with a shot you've never faced before. You find yourself in a unique place, unsure what to do or how exactly to get yourself out of the mess you're in. Right? You've taken that tee shot a number of times. You're knowing exactly what you're supposed to do from there, but you shanked your drive, and now you're in unfamiliar territory, facing a shot you've never seen before, and you've got to get creative and try something you never thought you'd have to do. Maybe you've never played golf before, but I bet this scenario still sounds familiar. You're stuck in a spot that you never thought you'd be. You're facing something you've never seen before, and you're unsure how to proceed, unsure if there's even a way out. At the beginning of the season of Lent, when I marked each of you on the forehead with palm ash and whispered, "You are dust, and to dust you will return," I had no idea just how complicated our Lenten practice of contemplating our mortality was about to become. This pandemic has kind of rocked our tee shot, hasn't it? When Peter stepped up to the tee to answer Jesus' question, "Who do you say that I am?" he was confident. Dude, you are the Messiah. I mean, even Jesus seemed to think that he'd hit a pretty good shot. It was solid as a rock, he tells Peter. But within just a few verses, that rock becomes an obstruction, and Peter is kicked right off the fairway into a bunch of brambles. Caddy Jesus then says, "I'm not sure you quite understood that shot. Don't tell anyone I'm the Messiah quite yet." Why does Jesus agree with Peter and praise him for being a rock and the solid foundation of the new community he's building, but then within seconds scold him for being the kind of rock that would send his ministry caroming off the fairway? Jesus and Peter are clearly in disagreement about what it means to be the Messiah. This is evident in Jesus' revelation of the Messiah as one who must suffer and die. Peter, who has just professed his faith that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, is clearly caught off guard by this. God forbid it. This will not happen to you. Then Jesus famously rebukes Peter. "Get behind me, Satan. You swung the right club, but you hit the wrong shot." This section of Matthew's text marks the beginning of the journey to Jerusalem, the place where Jesus will be arrested, persecuted, and sentenced to die. Jesus knows what lies ahead on the fairway just around the dog leg. But it seems as though his disciples and his followers and all of those palm-waving, Hosanna-shouting crowd have no idea what they're facing around the bend, or at least they're in denial about it. They don't want to take the advice of a caddy who will lead them off the fairway into unknown territory. They don't want to believe that this long-awaited Messiah is anything but the perfect shot. But here's the reality. Jesus didn't come to be our caddy because we were shooting a perfect round. Jesus came to be our caddy because humanity had gotten so far off the fairway that without even realizing it, they weren't even playing the right hole anymore. I mentioned to you in an earlier sermon that trust and faith in God will not make you immune to the coronavirus. I think a lot of people have been in denial about that, including myself. I want to believe that this will just resolve itself quickly, cleanly, with no casualties or suffering or complications, but let's be honest, that simply isn't the case. We're in the thick of things, stuck in a bush with little hope of saving par. People are suffering and dying, and any attempt to deny this, any attempt to claim that God's involvement in this is going to somehow eliminate the danger we face, any attempt to claim that God's involvement in our mess of a world won't involve suffering and dying, deserves a stern rebuke. It's not what we want to hear. It's not what Peter wanted to hear either. Yes, I am the Messiah, Jesus agreed, but my being the Messiah means that I'm stuck in the same mess you are, and I will suffer and die. How is this gospel? How is this helpful for a time such as this? I recently listened to a sermon that Nadia Bowles-Weber had posted online. She was preaching on Luke 13 when Pharisees come to Jesus and warn him to get out of Jerusalem because Herod knows he's there and wants to kill him. Well, Jesus looks the Pharisees in the eye and says, "You tell that fox I'm staying here because I still have work to do. And I will wrap these people in my arms like a mother hen gathers her chicks under her wing." They tell Jesus, danger is coming your way, and he says, I'm staying right here. Well, here's how Nadia chimes in. It occurs to me that nothing actually keeps danger from being danger. A mother hen cannot keep a determined fox from killing her children. So where does that leave us? I mean, if danger is real and a hen can't actually keep her chicks out of danger, then what good is this image of a mother hen God if faith in her can't keep us safe? Well, today I started to think that maybe it's not safety that keeps us from being unafraid. Maybe it's love. Which means that a mother hen of a God doesn't keep foxes from being dangerous. A mother hen of a God keeps foxes from being what determines how we experience the unbelievably beautiful gift of being alive. So to hell with fear, she says, because it does nothing to keep bad things from happening. It just steals the joy of appreciating the good things around us. When I moved into my new house last summer, my mother gifted me with 2 potted plants that sit out on my front porch. And they did exactly what potted plants do when left out on the front porch over the winter. They died. Well, at least one of them did. See, I was sitting out on the porch one evening and I noticed a green leaf glowing in the light of my porch light. So I brought the plant inside and I watered it, and I took a picture, which I posted online with the caption, "Let's see if we can't bring this thing back to life." Now, anyone who knows me and my way with plants knows that this was perhaps a bold and foolish statement of hope. But I got a few recommendations from friends online, mostly encouraging me to prune away all of the dead leaves. So I did that, and I was surprised to find green leaves hiding at the heart of this otherwise necrotic plant. Just a few days ago, I pulled the plant out of the pot and I shook all the old dirt off of its roots. I repotted it in a fresh batch of good soil and gave it a healthy drink of water. We are surrounded by disease and the very real and frightening threat of death. We've got to prune away that which is choking us out. That which involves stripping away some of the things that used to be good and life-giving. Social interaction, public gatherings, life as normal, going into work. Some of us has lost jobs and money and a sense of security, and with that loss comes a very, very real grief. But there's something green at the heart of it all, isn't there? As human activity is pruned back in response to this worldwide pandemic, there is something green being revealed. Air quality in China is making dramatic improvement. Fish and dolphins and swans are returning to the once heavily polluted waterways in Venice, Italy, which are now at a record low for the first time in 60 years. Here's our gospel for this day, hidden at the heart of Jesus' teaching about what it means to be the Messiah. I will go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders, chief priests, and legal experts, and I must be killed and raised on the third day. There it is, that glimmer of the resurrection. God will prune away the suffering and death to reveal that life still remains at the heart of it all. That's not to say that God is using this virus to prune or punish us, or that this pandemic is the will of God. It would be tremendously and terribly irresponsible theology to suggest that God is somehow willing all of this to happen. See, it's truer to my belief and understanding of God to see God as willing us to be honest about what is actually happening, and then to recognize that God is the porch light shining on the hope peeking out of this pandemic. God is a caddy showing us the safest shot to get back to the fairway. See, God is in the business of creation and reconciliation, not destruction and punishment. And I believe that God's role in all of this is to show us what is left and how we can best take care of it. Taking care of what's left isn't an easy task. Caring for ourselves emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically will require discipline and creativity, and will probably involve doing things that are difficult, uncomfortable, or even things that feel silly and unnecessary at times. But vigilance to the prescribed measures of safety and diligence in following these preventative measures is really the only thing left that we have any control over, and our best form of defense against the spread of this virus. I've heard stories and seen videos of people in Italy going out onto their balconies to sing together while under quarantine. Stories like that remind me of the story of hope occurring on my own front porch as my little plant is preparing to bloom. My prayer for all of you in these coming days and weeks is that you find your own balcony. You find that place where your grief and your hope can coexist, and spend time taking care of yourself.